visit to Milngavie Centre was the main order of business on my rest day in Edinburgh on Saturday, May 16th. As previously mentioned, I was hiking the first half of the Scottish National Trail from Kirkieetham to Kingussie to fundraise for Maggie's, the cancer support charity in honour of my mother Muriel. Isabel McNabb and her daughter Alison picked me up from the Smart City hostel and we drove down to Milngavie Centre by the Western General Hospital to deliver the fundraising cheque. Isabel and my mother were good friends over many years. Both were actively involved leaders in the Scottish Scouting movement. Here, they are on vacation together with my Aunt Vi, who's looking in her purse, who is also a Cub Scout leader for many years with the 31st Midlothian. Alison, herself a Queen's Guide, has known my mother all her life. At Maggie's, we met with fundraising organiser Amy Robertson, who gave us a tour around the superb Richard Murphy design building, converted from stables on the grounds of the Western General Hospital. Maggie's is located right across the road from the cancer treatment ward at the Western. Patients and their families can drop by the centre for practical, emotional and social support from the wonderful staff and volunteers who work in this welcoming environment. It was a privilege to present the cheque to Amy, thanks to the generous support of my many sponsors both in Edinburgh and back home in Austin, Texas. After our visit to Maggie's, I took Isabel and Alison to lunch at the Bonham restaurant in Drumshook Gardens, one of my mother's favourites. The Bonham is known for its artistic Nouvelle Cuisine food presentation. Coincidentally, the Bonham overlooks the Dean Village, where I exited the Scottish National Trail the previous day. The Bonham Hotel used to be a student residence belonging to Edinburgh University, known in my day as Muir Hall. It was American students and friends living at Muir Hall who convinced me, as an undergraduate, to apply to study abroad in the United States. Other notable coincidences during my stay in Edinburgh included the current spring edition of Maggie's Matters magazine, featuring hiking poles and an article on the health benefits of Nordic walking. As noted in a blog post, I was using my hike on the Scottish National Trail partly to redefine my own health, having been in long-term recovery from brain surgery. I underwent the surgery in 2010 for non-cancerous tumours, requiring further radiation treatment 2 years later. Another coincidence was the close proximity of my Smart City hostel lodgings to the aptly named Pilgrim Bar in Edinburgh's Cowgate. Practically from my window, I could see their neon sign quoting the second line from Tolkien's poem, "All that is gold does not glitter," from Lord of the Rings. That sign could have been a motto for my hike. The remainder of my rest day was more prosaically spent indoors, keeping out of the rain, uploading photographs to Facebook in the Black Medicine coffee shop across from the entrance to Edinburgh University Old College. Bright and early on Sunday morning, I was ready to begin the second leg of the Scottish National Trail from Edinburgh to Milngavie. My friend Warren Scott acquired a replacement camera for me in Edinburgh, so the record of this next section of the journey is primarily based on photographs without GoPro video. I walked down to Princess Street and had time to take a few practice shots with a new camera while waiting for the number 31 bus to take me back to Slateford. The Slateford to Ratho section of the Scottish National Trail follows along the Union Canal towpath. Meeting at the Water of Leith Visitor Centre, my walking companions to Ratho were Neil Conn on the left, his brother Magnus Conn to his left, Bob Cant, who you'll remember walked with Nigel and I from Balerno to Slateford on Friday afternoon, and Peter Hamilton in the Hibernian green jacket on the right. Neil and I grew up as next-door neighbours in Collinton, and we've been good friends for many years. Peter trained both Neil and I for cross-country running as members of United Crossroads Boys Club and at George Heriot's High School. Peter, now retired, operates the Saints and Sinners Walking Tour Company in Edinburgh, with Neil working as his star guide. Meticulous preparations made, in Neil's case equipped with a trekking pole gifted to him by David Malkin, our elite group of seasoned walkers set out from the Water of Leith Visitor Centre on our 6-mile adventure to Ratho along the Union Canal towpath. Venturing on solo from Ratho to Linlithgow, I soon stumbled across a secret Scottish training centre, otherwise known as the Edinburgh International Climbing Arena. As you can see, it's a popular spot with aspiring superheroes. In April, the climbing arena was used as the venue to launch the Scottish National Party's general election manifesto. Despite strong headwinds and the occasional rain shower, the afternoon turned into a pleasant Sunday stroll, taking in the sights along the canal. The Broxburn shale bings, now, far from being a blight on the landscape, provide a surreal contrast to the rolling farmland surrounding the Union Canal. A few miles further on from Broxburn, after passing a section of garden allotments, the distinctive spire of Linlithgow Palace could be seen in the distance. A short walk from the Linlithgow Union Canal Society moorings, my accommodation at Strawberry Bank House was a welcome contrast to the co-ed dormitory living arrangements at the Smart City Hostel in Edinburgh. The attention to detail was immaculate. Walking down the hill into Linlithgow, I treated myself to another large dinner and dessert at the Four Marys Belhaven pub on the High Street, right across the entrance to Linlithgow Palace. Monday morning stage continued along the Union Canal to Falkirk, beginning with the now customary full Scottish breakfast. Dreich weather greeted my first steps outside of Strawberry Bank House, but I was fortunate to have the company of David Malkin again for the remainder of the walk through to the west. Here we stand drenched in full battle gear on the Avon Aqueduct, the longest and tallest aqueduct in Scotland. Passing Grangemouth Oil Refinery provided another stark and dramatic contrast to the surrounding countryside. As the morning progressed and the sun again began to shine, we encountered Falkirk Tunnel. The tunnel is 630 metres long, hacked out of solid rock, and eerily beautiful. Entering Falkirk, there are superb views from the canal over to the Ochil Hills to the east, as well as views providing a glimpse into Scotland's industrial heartland to the west. At Falkirk, the transformation of the once industrial canal is more keenly noted, and now provides a shopfront for good old St. Nick, who, reassuringly, is set to return. Approaching from the east, the canal reveals the distinctive engineering of the Upper Falkirk Wheel. Again, from this vantage point, there are superb views down the Forth Valley to the road and rail bridges in the distance. I last visited the Falkirk Wheel with my family in 2007, my daughter Isla thoroughly enjoying the boat lift connecting the Union Canal with the Forth and Clyde Canal. David and I now converted into playing tourists, stopping for lunch at the impressive Visitor Centre. The Visitor Centre cafeteria provides a dramatic view of the wheel. Mini Kelpies were also on display, replicas of their permanent installation nearby on the M9 motorway. There is no doubt these mythical seahorses have a powerful grip on our collective imagination. I could have easily spent another hour or two learning more about this iconic Scottish landmark, but it was time to move westwards onto the next section of the Scottish National Trail from Falkirk to Kilsyth. Leaving the wheel, we were heading towards Corrine Polwart's home territory, the wonderful singer-songwriter who grew up in the nearby village of Banknock. This section of the Forth and Clyde Canal towpath parallels the Antonine Wall, a 2nd century Roman fortification stretching from the Firth of Forth in the east to the Clyde in the west. David is culturally ambidextrous, having lived in both Glasgow and Edinburgh, and very knowledgeable about the Antonine Wall. I learned a great deal about its history from him as we continued on to our destination at Auchenstary Marina in Kilsyth. David made his way back to Edinburgh while I checked in at the Boathouse Hotel, conveniently located at the marina. My window provided a good view of the eclectic variety of boats moored in the marina. Tuesday morning stage from Kilsyth to Milngavie concluded this section of the Scottish National Trail, if we're going by the chapter heading set by Cameron McNeish in his book, Scotland End to End. My wife Heather, a Texan, who is now well acquainted with my breakfast photographs posted on Facebook, at first thought this boathouse, full Scottish, looked more like a Mexican dish. David Malkin rejoined me at Auchenstary Marina on yet another cool, overcast morning in central Scotland, apparently beyond even the high-resolution capabilities of the GoPro to capture. Are we ready to continue our journey along the Forth and Clyde?
Aye. What?
St Mary's Church announces the entrance to Kirkintilloch, the historical East Dunbartonshire town, now bathed in glorious sunshine. The Old Canal Inn, otherwise known as the Kirky Puffer, was a supply stop for travellers on the Forth and Clyde Canal. Kirkintilloch lies 8 miles northeast from central Glasgow and makes clear that it is welcoming to walkers. Kirkintilloch also lies at the heart of the Thomas Muir Heritage Trail. Claimed to be the father of Scottish democracy, the life of Thomas Muir has witnessed a revival of interest, thanks in part to Scotland's rapid movement towards political independence. Coincidentally, prior to travelling to Scotland for the hike, I ordered Murray Armstrong's excellent biography of Thomas Muir. Scottish folk singer and political activist Dick Gaughan provides a wonderful thumbnail biography of Muir in the song Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill.
My name is Thomas Muir. As a lawyer I was trained. Remember Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill. But you branded me an outlaw, for sedition I'm arraigned. Remember Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill. But I never preached sedition in any shape or form, and against the Constitution I have never raised the storm. It's the scoundrels who corrupted it that I want to reform. Remember Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill. Gerard, Hammer, Skirvin, Thomas Muir and Margaret. Remember Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill. These are names that every Scottish man and woman ought to know. Remember Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill. When you're called for jury service, when your name is drawn by lot, when you vote in an election, when you freely voice your thought, don't take these things for granted, for dearly were they bought. Remember Thomas Muir of Hunter's Hill.
Leaving Kirkintilloch and continuing along the canal towards Bishopbriggs, views open up to the Campsie Fells to the north. A short distance from the boat moorings across from the Glasgow Road Bridge, the village of Cadder marks the departure point of the Scottish National Trail from the Forth and Clyde Canal. Traversing east to west along the canals was a wonderful way to journey across Scotland, but it was now time to strike further inland. Entering the village of Balmore and ready for a break, David and I happened across the perfect rest stop, the Balmore Coach House. The Coach House is not only an excellent tea shop, it is a charitable trust set up 30 years ago, acting as a fair trade importer. Run primarily by volunteers, it certainly has a well-stocked pantry. Over the years, their considerable proceeds have been used to help families and workers both in Scotland and in developing countries. After consuming an inordinate amount of tea and delicious home baking, and I was particularly fond of the apricot tart, David and I followed the trail as it crossed through the well-manicured and hospitable Balmore golf course. On the Balmore Road heading towards Milngavie, there are distant views over to Glasgow Cathedral and the high-rise flats which may or may not be the Red Road tenements. Whenever I see these distinctive features of the Glasgow skyline, the film Red Road comes to mind and the haunting performance by Andrea Arnold. The bleak urban atmosphere evoked in that film is a stark contrast to the surrounding countryside only a few miles north of Glasgow. We stopped off briefly to walk around the graveyard at Baldernock Parish Church, then walked into Milngavie town centre with its impressive signage announcing the starting point of the West Highland Way. After obligatory photo ops at the West Highland Way obelisk, we crossed the pedestrian precinct to Garvey & Co., where David was kind enough to buy me lunch. Milngavie marked the end of David's 2-day hike with me along the canals, in addition to the Scottish border stage he walked with Nigel and I from Hairstains to Melrose. David's enthusiastic company was a real highlight of my experience walking this section of the Scottish National Trail. And, like all great adventures, the story continues.